Hey YouTube, welcome once again to Dragon's Dojo Gaming. So, this is my updated Synchron deck profile. I made a few changes to it from the ban list getting updated and Chaos Ruler, I think his name is, getting banned. I was a little sad to see that he got banned, but his hit was absolutely necessary. Getting a free light or dark monster in your hand is kind of nice. So, I've also made a few changes to the main deck as well. So to start off, I run 2 Stardust Synchron, just like in the old profile. As many of you know, Stardust Synchron lets me tribute a monster to special summon him from hand or graveyard, and after he leaves the field from using his ability, he gets banished, and his abilities are hard once per turn. Next up, 3 Jug Synchron. Self-explanatory: when it's normal summoned, choose a level 1 or 2 monster in your graveyard and special summon it, and then start combos from there. Next up, 3 copies of Junk Converter. When he's in your hand, you can discard him and a tuner monster from your hand, then add any Synchron monster from your deck to your hand, whether it's a tuner monster or not, just as long as it has Synchron in its name. Next up, 3 Doppel Warrior. When a monster is special summoned from your graveyard, you can special summon Doppel Warrior from your hand. In my previous deck profile, I used common versions of this guy, but now I've bumped him up to ultra rare. He looks nice in ultra rare. 3 copies of a caster Dawnwalker, my bad. By discarding a card from my hand, I can special summon Dawnwalker from my hand, and after special summoning Dawnwalker, I can use his ability to special summon Fire Ant, a caster, from my hand. From hand or deck. And I run 1 copy of the Ant for, because it's all I really need for the deck, because of Dawnwalker, I mean. Next up, 2 Calico Clawcrow. All I have to do to special summon him from my hand is control a dark monster. Next up, 2 Boost Warrior. Just like Calico Crow, I could special summon Boost Warrior, but I have to control a tuner monster to summon him. I could be wrong, but I think I had 2 Boost Warrior in my old deck profile. I ran them at 1 for a little bit, but I decided to bump them up to 2 to 2 again. There was a point where I was only playing him at 1 to help make space for the deck. Next up, 1 Kobold Hedgehog. If he's in your graveyard and if you control a tuner, you can special summon him. Then he gets banished after he leaves the board from his effect. Next up, 1 copy of Destrido. Thanks to Destrido, you could target if he's in your hand or grave, you can target a monster on your board with a level, special summon Destrido, and then his level decreases equal to the level of the monster it chose. And you can choose monsters that are level 6 or lower with Destrido's effect, which can really come in handy because if you were to synchro summon a specific monster that you really wanted, you could use him for that monster you wanted if you had the materials to make that monster. And after he's sent to the grave from his effect, he goes to the bottom of the deck. Next up, 1 Stardust Trial. So, if a monster I control is tributed, I could special summon Stardust Trial from my hand or graveyard. And if it's sent to the graveyard as Synchro material, I could special summon a Stardust token that's level 1 with 0 attack and defense, and is a light dragon. Next up, crap more tuners coming up. 1 Flare Synchron. When he's used as Synchron material, you special summon a level 1 or 2 monster from your hand. Similar to Junk Synchron's effect, except it's from your hand than in the graveyard. 1 Jet Synchron. He has 2 effects. One of them is if it's used as Synchron material, you can add any junk monster for your deck to your hand. It can be Junk Synchron, Junk Converter, Junk Servant, just as long as it's a monster from your main deck that has junk in its name. And its other effect is you discard 1 card. You can discard a card from your hand to special summon it. However, despite that it has these 2 effects, you can only use one of the 2 effects per turn. Next up, 1 Cyber Synchron. His ability is once per turn, you can target a level 4 or lower monster on your board, increase its original level till the end of the turn, meaning its level increases by its original level. And thanks to its additional effect, if a monster in your extra monster zone, meaning up here for links, synchros, and fusions, monsters from the extra deck, is about to be destroyed, you can banish Cyber Synchron to prevent that destruction. Quite convenient to have on board. Next up, 1 Satellite Synchron. When a monster special summon from your graveyard, you can special summon Satellite Synchron from your hand. And his other ability is if you control a Synchro monster that has Warrior, Stardust, or junk in its name. Actually, not junk. Just Warrior Synchron or Stardust. Sorry. You can target 1 monster on your field. You can change Satellite Synchron's level to 4 for the rest of the turn. Next up, 1 Necro Synchron. His ability is you can target any monster on your board, well, any face-up monster you control, and increase its level by 2 for the rest of the turn. And if it's used as Synchro material, you can special summon a plant tuner from your deck. I personally do not run any plant tuners because I don't need them. If Glow Up Bulb wasn't banned, I'd use him. People, as I'd imagine, would use Spore along with Necro Synchron, but for my Synchron deck, I'm choosing not to use Spore personally because I don't feel like I need it for the deck. Next up, 1 Synchron Resonator. If I control a tuner, I could special summon him. Pretty handy level 1 tuner that I could special summon. And now for some hand traps. 3 Effect Veiler and 2 Ghost Ogre. I run Veiler at 3 because it's a level 1 tuner and it can negate stuff, and it can be used more than once per turn. I use Ghost Ogre at 2 because Ghost Ogre's effect is just really freaking good. Eventually I may consider bumping her to 3, but right now I'm really liking her at 2. Next up for spell cards. 3 Tuning. With its effect, you could search your deck for any Synchron monster and add it to your hand. And after you add the monster you want, you mill the top card of your deck and send it to the graveyard. Next up, 2 Synchro Overtake. I ran it at 3 in my previous profile, but I decided to run it to 2 because it's a hard once per turn, and 2 because the only monster I legitimately can search for in this deck is Junk Synchron. The only generic Synchro warrior that I run in my extra deck is Junk Warrior. And because of that, I can only use this card to grab Junk Synchron. Which is why I decided to increase it to 2. 1 Rhoda, you can add any level 4 or lower monster from your deck to your hand. Best searcher in the deck in my opinion. 1 Stardust Illumination, basically a Foolish Burial for Stardust Synchron. 1 Foolish Burial, speak of the devil. 1 for 1. Thanks to this card's effect, you can discard any monster from your hand specifically to special summon any level 1 monster from your deck. 1 Called by the Grave. As you all know, it's there for those pesky hand traps. And for monsters that the opponent would want to special summon from their graveyard. 1 Change of Heart. Take an opponent's monster for free for the remainder of the turn you took control. Very handy. 1 Pot of Avarice. I find this card to be quite useful in Synchrons because I send monsters to the graveyard quite often. And I can add more draw power to the deck by using this card. And finally for spells, 1 Monster Reborn. That is it for the main deck, and now I'm about to go to the side deck. First up for monsters, 1 Artifact Lancia. Lancia is basically a hand trap version of Imperial Iron Wall, except its effect only continues for the effect can only be used for the turn Lancia is activated. Next up, Nibiru. Very, very good side card in my opinion. Well, it's good for the main deck too, but I kind of prefer it as a side deck card for this deck. 1 DD Crow. 1 Droll and Lockburn. And now for spells. 1 Raigeki. 1 Twin Twisters. 2 Forbidden Chalice. And 2 Forbidden Chalice. Eventually, I may consider adding Harpy's Feather Duster to the deck, or to the side deck. That or the main deck. I don't know which of the 2 yet. Or if I end up deciding to add it at all. For traps, 2 Solemn Judgment, 1 Starlight Road, and 3 Dimensional Barrier. Judgment just has a really powerful effect despite the high cost. Dimensional Barrier stops your... Dimensional Barrier is really good for lots of extra deck decks and ritual decks. And it's good for pendulum decks too. Anything except decks that rely heavily on link monsters. And Starlight Road's good for back row destruction cards. Well, board destruction cards in general. And now for the extra deck. 1 Double Star Shaman. Thanks to Double Star Shaman's effect, when it's synchro summoned, I can target a level 1 or 2 non-tuner in my graveyard and special summon it. 1 Martial Metal Marcher. When he's synchro summoned, I can target any tuner in my graveyard and special summon it. 1 Herald of the Arclight. Thanks to Herald's effect, So because of Herald's effect, if it's sent to the grave, any card that's sent from my hand or field is sent to my graveyard instead, but here's the catcher. Once during either player's turn, I contribute it to negate the activation of any card effect and destroy it. And it's good to have as a level 4 tuner. Well, it's not a synchro tuner. as a level 4 non-tuner synchro. 1 XL Synchron, 1 Junk Speeder, in my opinion the best card in the deck. Because once he's synchro summoned, you can special summon as many Synchron monsters from your deck as possible. And one thing I've learned to do with Junk Speeder, for if the opponent has impermanence or any hand traps, is that if I can, I'll have to use his effect first before any other effect, and then chain with other effects so that its effect cannot get negated from me creating chain links from other card effects. Like if I were to summon him on board with Hyper Librarian out, I could use his effect, then chain with Hyper Librarians to draw a card. And if I were to send any monsters as synchro material that could activate in the graveyard from being used as synchro material, I could use those monsters' effects to chain as well. Next up, 1 Junk Warrior. A powerhouse quite the powerhouse if you have a lot of level 1 or 2 monsters on your board, but he's mainly there to reveal from your extra deck and add Junk Synchron from with Synchro Overtake. 1 Hyper Librarian. Each time a monster is synchro summoned, whether it's on your board or the opponent's, you draw a card. And it's not a once per turn or a hard once per turn either. Very, very good card. 1 Stardust Charge Warrior. When it's synchro summoned, you draw a card. And its other effect is it can attack all special summon monsters your opponent controls. 1 FA Dawn Dragster. So he gains attack equal to his level times 300. So at level 7, his base level, his attack's 2100. And he has another effect that says once per turn, when your opponent activates a spell or trap, activates any card effect, quick effect, you can reduce its level by 2, negate the effect of that card, and destroy it. Having a walking negator is pretty nice. 1 copy of Omega. Once during either player's turn, you can banish Framelord Omega to target an opponent's card in their hand and banish it. And then, during your next standby phase, Framelord goes back to your board and that banished monster goes back to the opponent's hand. 1 Scarlet Red Dragon Archfiend. His effect destroys monsters whose attack is equal to or less than his and inflicts 500 damage to the opponent for each monster it destroys from its effect, but that's not why it's here, and I will get to why in a sec. Next up, Crystal Link Synchro Dragon. It requires a tuner and 1 or more non-tuners to summon it. If the opponent were to use monster effects, whether it's on board or from hand or grave, you can use Crystal Wings effect to negate that monster, destroy it, and then boost Crystal Wings attack equal to the attack of the monster it destroyed from its ability. And its other ability is that if it destroys if it battles an opponent's monster, it gains attack equal to the attack of the monster it's battling. And the nice part about its second effect is that it's more than once per turn. Very, very nice. 1 Satellite Warrior. Just like Crystal Wing, its summoning requirement is the same as Crystal Wing's. And its effect is, for every Synchro monster that's in your graveyard, you can target that many cards on your opponent's board, destroy all those cards you've targeted, and then Satellite Warrior gains 1,000 attack for each card you've chosen to destroy. Which is amazing and powerful. And now for Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. He is the reason why Starlight is here. Starlight's basically there as Chaos Ruler's replacement for me to summon Hot Red Dragon Archfiend Abyss. So thanks to his quick effect, you can target any card that's on board and negate its effect. Even if it's a spell or trap, even if it's a non-continuous spell or trap. Actually, it doesn't destroy the card, it just negates the effect. And finally, the boss monster of the deck, Cosmic Blazar Dragon. Has 4,000 attack and defense, is level 12. And its effects are, when your opponent activates a card effect, you can banish it. You can banish it to negate the effect of that card and destroy it. Well, you can banish it for any of its effects, but its other effects are, when your opponent special summons a monster, negate the summon and destroy the monster. And its final effect is, when an opponent's monster declares an attack, negate the attack, then end the battle phase. Which is broken! And that is it for my Synchron deck profile. I apologize if I didn't explain how I built my deck and how I play it as well as I think I was able to explain it to you guys, but overall, I hope you all enjoyed the deck profile, and have a good night, y'all.